Hello neighbor, this is Curt with etrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the Benton Shifts&Grins Four-Bike Carrier on our 2024 Nissan Rogue. We're just going to see how they interact with each other a little bit. Now, if you've gone ahead and purchased the Four-Bike Shifts&Grins Bike Carrier, why don't you go ahead and leave what you think about it in the comments below. We'd love to share your story with our other neighbors in order to help them make the best decision for themselves. So if you've been on the hunt for a 4-bike platform hitch bike carrying rack for your Nissan Rogue, the Benton Shifts&Grins is going to check a lot of boxes for you. It can be mounted two different ways. You can mount either by the wheel, or you can detach this hook, move it back, and we can make it a frame mount too in case you have a bike with fenders. There's 3 points of contact here with the arm and hook. We've got ratcheting wheel straps with a rubber bumper on them to protect our wheels. And it's going to have a weight capacity for it at about 55 pounds, which means even some of those e-bikes that are out there are going to be able to work on this bike rack. In relation to how it fits, though, on our Rogue, we actually have a good amount of clearance back here behind it. One of the things I would recommend, though, is to get this pedal that's closest to the vehicle kind of in a more upright position. That way, it's more toward this cavity where the license plate is. We also have good clearance up here by our handlebars, and this is a very large frame bike, by the way. So the fact that even on a bumpy road here, we're really not going to be in any danger of it contacting our rear windshield, that's an excellent thing right there. Now, there is, of course, going to be some, obscurities visually whenever you're dealing with a platform bike rack, and especially when it's loaded up with bikes. In our case here, we're going to have some partial obscurity on our taillights for the other drivers. We're going to see pretty well out of our rear window. However, with 4 bikes stacked up, that would diminish as well. But we're definitely going to have some blockage over our rear view camera and our license plate. And because we have that kind of blockage on our rear view camera, it's a good idea to take a look and know exactly what kind of footprint this is leaving behind our bumper. So let's go ahead and see how much extra space we need behind our bumper. To the furthest point of the bike rack, we're looking at just a hair under 52 inches. So you got over 4 feet of rack coming off of your bumper back here that you are going to need to account for when you're backing into a tighter space or trying to parallel park. The other thing that we need to take a look at is our ground clearance. Now, our ground clearance is going to be at about 16 inches, and normally I'd say that's a pretty darn good amount. However, because this sticks so far out from our bumper, we definitely have to be conscious of some of those steeper inclines and driveways. So it's a good idea knowing what's back here. Now, I had mentioned before, too, that this bike rack carries bikes up to 55 pounds. So we want you to be comfortable in getting your bike up to that height. So to get it up into the wheel cup, we're looking at a height of about 19 inches here, closest to the vehicle, and about 22 inches further away, because we do have a gradual taper as we come out along here. So that's going to help out with that ground clearance down the line. However, because it sticks so far out away from the vehicle, you do want to make sure you remember it. Now, when it comes to a platform bike rack, one of the biggest questions we get is, will I have access to my lift gate when I have bikes loaded up? Now, the 4-bike Shifts&Grins, as I said before, it really comes far out from the vehicle. And there is this rubber bumper at the bottom here when you do the tilt away, and that's accessed through this button. However, we do not have enough clearance in our lift gate because it doesn't fold completely all the way down. The 2-bike version of this will tilt away far enough because it doesn't come all the way out and meet the ground. But when you have the 4-bike version on, the hitch on the Rogue is a bit too low to the ground to allow that full tilt to happen. So to get it back up, all you need to do is lift. It'll click in place just like that, and now you're back up in the riding position. Now, loading and unloading your bike from the Shifts&Grins is a really easy process too. We're going to start with these ratcheting wheel straps here, and I'm going to go ahead and press this tab and feed the strap back through the spokes and out of our way. I'm going to do the same thing over here in the front. And then we're going to go ahead and release our arm and hook. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and pop that off, bring it around, and put it back on. Just leave enough to clear the wheel, just like that. And now we're able to remove our bike, and we can either store it in the garage or go ahead and hit the trail. Now, this bike rack altogether in the 4-bike version weighs about 114 pounds. So it's probably not something you're going to be wanting to take in and out of your hitch every day, all the time. It does, however, have a stowaway feature. So we're just going to grab this by the handle, pop this button in on the end, and lift it up into its stowed position. Now we're going to significantly reduce that footprint that we left behind the vehicle. However, we are going to get some things that are blocked even more in this position than they were with a bike on them. That would be our taillights, license plate, and our rear view camera. So now that we've got it folded up like this, we've got it shortened down to taking up about 14 inches of space behind here. So again, significantly reducing that footprint it's leaving out here behind us. We just end up sacrificing some visibility going through back here in the process. And the shorter shank here too, that's going to give you about 8.5 inches of ground clearance right here. So again, be mindful of that. The hitch on the Rogue is a bit lower to the ground than some other vehicles, so be mindful of any really steep inclines when it comes to bottoming out of this hitch. Now, I did mention that it weighs about 114 pounds altogether, but because this is actually the 2-bike version of the Benton Shifts&Grins with a 2-bike add-on, making it a 4-bike carrier, we are able to take off the extension piece and significantly lighten the load on our hitch while also giving us a bit more visibility. So we can do this when we're not riding around with 4 bikes. This would be something you'd want to throw on when you just have those extra bikes that you're riding around with. Now, these is going to be separated by taking apart this U-shaped pin right here, and we'll take that out. And then this knob that's underneath here, we're going to go ahead and loosen that. And that should give us the ability to go ahead and remove our extension. Okay, so with it off, this piece itself weighs close to about 50 pounds. So again, almost cutting that tongue weight on your hitch in half. But now we're also in a place where everything is a lot more manageable and we get a lot more visibility out of the back of the vehicle with that extension removed. So I would suggest, unless you're literally carrying 3 or 4 bikes, you just kind of keep that to the side until the moments that you need it and ride around with the 2-bike version on it instead during the meantime. But anyway, I think this would be an excellent choice for you and your Rogue if you really need a good, sturdy 4-bike carrier or a 2-bike carrier, something that's going to be versatile and mount a lot of different types of bikes along with some different weights as well. So once again, I'm Curt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.